I believe I had a problem, and this is me admitting to you in front of everybody. I didn't want to tell you this on the phone. I am admitting that I had a problem with how you went about doing what you was doing, and I didn't express that in a mature way. My strength of my belief was immature, and I responded it to you in a way that caused our turmoil for these past 2 days. And what strength should have came out to maturity was the adaptability, and it did. And so I really do apologize to you. Hey, everybody, it's James.
And also me.
Yes. We do this every week. This is
We
the Saturday
do.
edition because I'm on the road. So I'll be home late on Sunday, coming from Huntsville. So I said, let's just get this in tonight because I won't. It'll be late tomorrow. Hey, baby, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. For today's episode, I wanted to talk about our week, maybe our last 48 hours. Hasn't
Okay.
been the best 48 hours for our communication, and I think it's healthy because we get an opportunity to talk about it, and not in the context of our discourse, but if in the context of your post that you put about tough times and how you had to, based upon, I do follow your Facebook, so you made a post about Kev on stage, the Heat, and I read your post. That's why I say you give me like, topics, and we haven't had the best week communicating to each other. The best 48 hours. Let's not say week. The best 48 hours. Um, we're we're attempting to make a major purchase, and from a philosophical standpoint, how we handle major purchases is different. So that poses a problem for us early because we're navigating having been married 6 months, but having been around each other for 2.5 years, but only been married for the time that we've been married, and we haven't quite found our rhythm. And something that we didn't talk about was like the trust factor when times get tough. And so that's what I kind of wanted to talk about tonight because what inspired it was your post about when you had to make a tough decision, about the heat in your townhome.
Yep.
Uh, if can you share a brief recap for those who may or may not follow you on the story?
Yeah.
You give
So
it.
when I purchased my townhome, fresh out of college, probably about 6 months after graduating, I was still trying to figure out how to make it, honestly. But it was a new build, and when I got everything turned on in my name, I did not realize that the utilities, the electric bill specifically, the builders did not put it in their name. So it had been on the whole time, and no one's name was on the account. So when they put my name on the account, I was then responsible for the entire thing,
Right.
and it was about a few dollars shy of $600. And I told them to cut it off. I said, cut it
Right.
off and lock the meter. And
Mm.
they were so confused. They were like, but that would mean you won't have any heat. And I was like, I'm good. I'm fine. And from 2007 until I had to turn the heat on because someone else lived there, the heat was off in winters. And I just used space heaters. Like I used space heaters, and I wore my sweatpants and my sweatshirts and had blankets
Yeah.
and made it work. Um, yeah, and it was
So
fine.
so so I asked you to share that story. So you have experience in dealing with like tough times, navigating circumstances and situations that may require you to sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely.
how does that translate to when you have somebody? I will start with your daughter. Like when you gave birth to Ayana, don't you have to? Does your survival mode change at all? Or I mean, the philosophy of how you survive, does it change for you with the child?
Um, yeah, I think it intensified,
Okay,
mostly because she's the collateral in whatever decision made.
okay,
She doesn't have she that situation of not having heat was a choice that I made that I could stand 10 toes down because if it got too cold, I could go someplace else.
yeah,
Or worst case scenario, I could tell them to turn it back on, right?
right, 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 right.
And the only person it really was impacting was me. It wasn't impacting anybody else. The moment a child comes into the situation, I I have to become more um, mindful of how that level of sacrifice will impact her.
Okay,
Like I have to. I can't do the super duper risky things I used to do
mm-hmm.
with her unless I am very clear it's going to impact her. Because anything I do, anything we do in this
Yeah,
moment is going to impact the kids.
right.
It's as simple as that. So I think it intensified, like with her. I became more like I can't, like, she shouldn't feel the aftermath of any of the decisions that are made. That wouldn't be fair to her.
Okay, okay. So you were married. Now you're married again. When you add a husband to that philosophy and equation, what adds, what changes, what adjustments now that you have uh, a husband, if anything?
Yeah, my prayer is that we continue to keep them at the forefront as we make decisions,
Who keep who?
as the kids.
Okay.
Like that we and ultimately I think that, if you're calling the play,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta trust that you're talking to God first about it. If you're just making the play and you are just saying this is what I want to do, this is what I think is best for us, we would then have like I'm my prayer is that God continues to touch your heart to intervene on those plans, just to make sure that those plans are in alignment with Him for us.
Gotcha.
And then just go from there. Because at the end of the day, it's important for, like, I want, and I've told you this. My feedback, or whenever I say like, "Hey, have you considered this?" or I'm sharing whatever, it's always coming from a place of being a soundboard. Because I don't think submission is silent. I think submission remains under the mission, but I don't think it's silent. I don't think we're called to be silent in our submission. I think we are called to, if that's an area of expertise, or not even that. If God nudges me to be like, something off, I want to be able to be like, something is off.
Okay. 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 You want to say something
Yep.
is off?
Yes.
What? I want to make sure we stay on topic.
Okay.
Because what happens when we don't stay on topic is it bleeds over into a possible another show. So I want you to stay on kind of where we've been the last few weeks. Because the last few weeks hasn't been, sorry, the last 2 or 3 days, it hasn't been. Let me give you some caution. It wasn't. That wasn't the situation. The
No, but
situation. The situation was we have a philosophical difference in how we handle uh, major purchases,
we do.
or how we handle, and I'm not even talking about the finances, but how we go about life. Like, and here's what. Let me give the audience what I'm talking about. And it's not that I don't, but my wife puts more emphasis on relationships, the connectedness in relationships than I do. My wife is more results oriented as opposed to the process of how you get to the results. Whereas I believe I am more process to get to the results, and I'm less likely to lean on a connectedness of a relationship than she is. Would you agree with that, baby? Is that fair
Yeah,
assessment?
I would
Okay.
say you're in the if we put it in context of jobs or careers, you're in the project management department and I'm on the creative team.
Okay. I'll go with that. So that can clash, right? When it, and to not tell all our business, but to say we had a plan to go about a certain way, and the plan was executed. I'm not even going to sit here and say the plan wasn't executed, but I believe I had a problem, and this is me admitting to you in front of everybody. I didn't want to tell you this on the phone. I'm glad we're doing this. I am admitting that I had a problem with how you went about doing what you was doing, and I didn't express that in a mature way. My belief, my strength of my belief was immature, and I responded it to you in a way that uh, that caused our turmoil for these past 2 days. Because my belief wasn't mature, and what strength should have came out to maturity was the adaptability, and it didn't. And so I really do, apologize to you. We talked about it earlier, so I mean we're good now. But it caused an emotional flare up in a conversation where some hurtful things were said, and that's why like tonight I wanted to talk about like how as a wife do you, and maybe you can offer some help for people, or maybe we can get some help. I think this is one of those ones where I probably want to get some help. How do you not be in survival mode but be in collaboration mode to get through, right? Like if it's a group project, because all our stuff is group project. You bring your creativity to my project management. How do we blend that to where we're not getting into a place where we're taking pot shots at each other with how we both operate? And I think that's what it was, right? I don't like to give the enemy credit, but I do believe when immaturity of your strengths happens is when the enemy can kind of whisper something in your ear and be like, she don't respect you, or she ain't submitted to you, or she thinks you know what I'm saying, she ain't the head of the household, right? Not that I have those stances from a political standpoint. I have those stances from a spiritual standpoint, but like the enemy can feed into that, right? So, what say you? What are your thoughts?
So I think, as cliche as this is, I think it's important to first accept the difference.
Sure. Okay. First step,
Accept,
accept.
yeah, just accept the difference. Like,
Yeah.
I will never be a project manager like you.
Okay.
I'm not wired that way. I'm not.
Yeah.
The reason, and I've said this on like in different scenarios, but it's always been consistent. The reason Cartoon Network was a dream job for me was because of how they approached work. They literally were like, get us to Z. We're starting at A. Get us to Z. I don't care what you do in the middle. We don't
Okay.
like. We're not going to police it. We're not going to. We're not going to say. So that it's like they gave guardrails to the
Right.
playground,
Right.
right? And you kind of touched on it a little bit in our last conversation, where you were like, I need to give you the freedom, the space to just be, but then let you know the parameters of where that is. That's exactly what that is, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's this the acceptance, and then on the flip side, I can do a better job at identifying and honoring that specific processes and deadlines matter to you. Specific steps matter to you. Specific things in the process matter to you.
Only when there's a plan before. Only when you sit down and you say, "This is we map out how we're going to get to Z." It's almost like the GPS. Like we know we want to go to Atlanta, and we want to go to a specific address, and because I've traveled this route, I know the optimal way, but the GPS may give you. So it's not necessarily, and it goes back to like I don't devalue the creativity side, but it's like yo, if we said we're gonna go this way, this is the way that I'm expecting us to go. Uh, it doesn't allow much room in some cases for the creative side to come in if we're trying to go one way. Sometimes, right? That's really the only time. But I do value the ability because adaptability is also my other strength. That's the pull and tug of having that mindset.
Well, and I think that if we, and this just came to me when you were talking, if
Mm-hmm.
we accept what it is,
Yes.
and you bring in a little bit more adaptability, I meet you a little bit more on just that approach to process. The
Yeah.
master that we serve, he is creative.
Right. Right.
We
Right.
got
I
to write
agree.
our lives in pencil, not pen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
His word tells us that it's our heart. The man may have the plans, but God orders his steps. So
Gotcha.
if, like, yeah, I get it. We got this plan, but sometimes, right? If if I know the playground and I have the parameters and I'm
Yeah.
floating in here, I can find a better way, or not even a better way. I could find an alternative, a potential option. So while we're going on the plan and we're executing the plan, just in case something happens with the plan, we have I found a window. I found another avenue.
Okay. So here's my pushback to that. Okay. Slight pushback. Is there anything wrong? There's nothing wrong with having an alternative. But my question would be, what's wrong with just going with the plan? Why does it have to be any deviation if nothing is wrong with the plan? I guess
I
that's what
don't
I'm saying.
think I don't think
Okay.
nothing is wrong with the plan, and I think the alternative is not saying anything is wrong with the plan. I don't think the alternative. I don't think my intent. I actually say that my intent is not to find an alternative to the plan. That is never my intent. That's not my intent. I'm not
But you
going out to be
do.
like,
But you
ooh, let me find something new. Like
but you do.
I'm
You
not.
do.
But I'm not. It's not a place of. It's not a place of me. Let me push back on this plan. That's not
No,
the place it's coming
I
from.
don't think it's pushback. I'm not saying it's pushback. I'm not saying not have an alternative, but do you have to execute the alternative? Because it feels like to me, right? Just saying what feels. Feelings aren't facts. You said you don't have the intent. I accept that. In our case, majority of the time, you end up doing something that is not what is in the plan. So it feels like the plan wasn't good enough, so you got to find an alternative. That's what it could look like. Is what I'm saying. So let me pose this question to you. As a wife, is there ever a moment because you were single for a time period and you were divorced, so that I get it, right? Is there ever a mindset or is there ever a time, and I'm asking this to all wives, because this could be the question of the night. Is there ever a time where you're not in survival and you do find that place where you're like, man, this person that I decided to partner with, that I made the choice that his direction is the direction we want to go? Because I'm simply asking, and I'm not saying fighting against submission or not having a voice, because I'm not talking about not having a voice. What I am saying is, and what I am asking is there ever a time as a wife where you just go along and get along?
Absolutely. And I think it depends on. There are two sides to that.
Okay,
There are
that's
two
fair.
sides.
That's fair.
There is the one where we're praying. Okay, God, He not listening, so we'll just go to you. And and then at that point, we're like, okay, I'm going to do what I am called to do, and I will let you deal with your son. That's one side.
Okay.
And then the
Yeah.
other side of that is the moment we realize the things that we are concerned about are taken care of. And that is, again, that's specific to each wife, right?
Okay. Yeah.
That's not a biblical, it's the same for every wife. It's not. So it's so important for you to understand your wife, not wives in general, to know what are those things that if these things were taken care of, you could breathe. Like,
So,
what are those? What,
go ahead.
and some of it can be like physical. Some of those things can be physical. Some of them are not. Some of them are literally like connected to the nervous system, meaning like if at the end of the night, and it's crazy. I just had a conversation with two women who don't know each other, but they both said the same thing. If 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 things are going crazy in the marriage with the kids, whatever,
Yeah.
but for her nervous system, if he held her at night, it all wipes away. Because it literally, something about that is connected to the nervous system, which brings things that are like high strung, brings it down for a woman.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So
yeah,
let me take it
go
bit by
ahead,
bit
go
because
ahead, go ahead.
I know you could get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, you good.
All right. So I'm gonna stop it right there. I understand the end of the night. What I'm speaking to is the heart of the day whenever you're going through stuff. As a husband, and I talk to men, right? It
Mhm.
feels, and I'm saying feels a lot because it's not truth, right? It's not always truth, right? The sentiment from our side is that everything feels like DEFCON 3. And if I'm cool and collective, why isn't that? If the person who's with me is seeing cool and collective and calm, why isn't it like that? Why does it have to feel like in the heart of the day? Why do I have to hold you at night when I'm cool? I'm good. I'm not
I think
panicking.
it's,
So I guess
I
that goes
think
back
it's,
to what are you watching? What are you seeing in me that keeps you at that place of unrest, whereas you're not seeing? Because if you were with Jesus, right, and I look at it like that. If you believe, if we believe in the headship of Jesus, like if you were with Jesus, would you be calm or would you be frantic?
I'll be completely calm. That's actually an interesting uh, analogy because when those things aren't aligned,
Sure, you're right.
um, that is the presence I go to. That is
Oh,
exactly the presence
frantic.
I go
It's
to,
and
and that is
I
what
can
gets me
understand.
calm.
I can understand
Yeah,
that if the head is wobbly, right? If the headship is wobbly, you're gonna be wobbly. But I'm speaking to if the headship is steady, calm, not panicking, not frantic, trying to figure out why does it seem difficult for the woman to also gleam at the top and be like, okay, he's good. I should tone it down a little bit. Does that enter into a headspace? Like I shouldn't have to hold you at I
I
should
think
hold you at night, but I shouldn't have to hold you to calm you at night. Like that I'm trying to get that to be the feeling throughout
so. I
the
don't think it's
situation. Okay.
so, and I think too. It depends upon the woman. It depends upon her experiences and
Got
what
you. I
she's
got you.
been through.
Yeah.
And I think it also depends upon the circumstance and the situation, right? So like, yeah, you shouldn't have to, but if 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 you are if you're with someone
Yeah.
whose nervous system has been it has
Thinking. Yeah.
been
I got you.
yeah, it's important to understand that that's not a result of you.
Right.
Yeah, that's not a result of you. However, you have a direct key to help change that. You have a
Mm.
direct key to shift that. You can either
So
choose to use the key or not use the key, but you have it.
I'm saying let me surmise because we're getting around our 30-minute mark.
Okay.
So are you expressing and I'm gonna flip this because it's gonna sound like I was caping for men. Are you saying that as the head of the household, me as the man, it is more beneficial for me to have a turnover factor of grace and patience to allow my wife to get to that place if it's early on? Because my original question was how long, right? Is it 30 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 5 years? Or and I get every woman's different, but like at what point in time will you look to the headship and be like, he's so calm in this moment. I need to mirror that, as opposed to it being somewhat opposite at times.
I think that depends upon the situation, and I also think
It's all
there
situational.
it's kind of like grief. It's kind of like when you have uh you know indiscretion, right?
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing somebody can do. The worst thing somebody can do is to tell you to get over it. You should have been over it a long time ago. That's the worst thing somebody can do.
I totally
Is
agree. I
tell you,
understand.
yeah. So I think to your first part, yes, I think that there's a level. It is written, we are the weaker vessels. That has nothing to do with
I got you.
that has nothing to
I got
do
you.
with physical, right?
Strength. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So
got you. I got you.
yeah, so to be patient and gracious in that moment probably is a gift, just
Mm,
like mercy. Just like it's grace, just like mercy. Is it deserving? No. Right? But God gives it freely anyway.
so you're saying that ultimately, and I'm gonna throw myself under the bus. You're really asking me to love you as Christ loves the church. You're asking me to Ephesians 5:30. You're literally, as a woman, when you decide that this is the man you want to marry, you're literally asking him, without asking him, to say, you it's imperative, it's a must that you love me as Christ loved the church, which we know we're so sin ridden, we're so filthy, we're so nasty that he had to come back and get on the cross for us. If I'm loving you as Christ loved the church, then that means that I need to be more creative and adaptable in how you react to your wifehood as a woman.
Or just in being and adaptable um, in general. Because the wifehood part is connected to
Well, I'm just
the
speaking to the
design.
wifehood because that's what we're talking about, husband and
Yeah,
wife.
yeah. But it's connected to the design of how I'm wired.
I
So,
get that. I get that. So that's what I'm saying. The creative part
but
is
but yes, but
giving you
yes.
space
To
to
you,
color outside the lines like you want, and also understanding that you may go over there, and that may not be. But that also requires more of me, is what I'm saying. It requires, that for me, and I'm speaking for James Cornelius Williams. That requires so much more of me to do that because you're asking me to break from myself, which goes back to what I said.
and it goes back to what I heard the Holy Spirit tell me. He said, in marriage, you're supposed to die to yourself daily, right? So, yeah. And I think that the more that happens in marriage, where the husband takes that space, gives that space for that woman to just be, right? We have those guardrails. We know the guardrails. We're not silly, right? But then whatever her design is, she's able to be free in her design. That
Mm-hmm.
unleashes so much that is exactly what the man craves. It literally unleashes that allows us to be exactly what you're asking for. If I don't have that space
Yeah.
to be myself, how am I
Right.
going to show up to be? Because if I'm not going to, and I think that's where wives then lean on Christ, and they say, okay, this isn't working. So God, I know the third strand in this is you. So I'm gonna. It's kind of like going above your head to the supervisor to be like, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm going to you, and I'm gonna just do what I know you have called me to do, and then I'm gonna let you deal with your son.
Well, I will say, in being and having leaving it to God to deal with your son, I guess what I'm trying to, if I'm
And
recognizing,
sometimes, baby, and I'm so sorry to cut you off, but sometimes in the process of that, of asking him to deal with you, he also deals with me.
right, right. No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying here's where this conversation is good, and we might go way over what our normal time is. So I think this is good. My follow up to what you just said would be: do you realize the level of work that it causes a man to do what you just asked? That is my question. I don't know if it really is talked about enough to, and I know you have to do it, but and I just pulled up the scripture. It says, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. I am already flesh, I'm already selfish, right? And you're asking me to do more extra dying. I would just say, as a husband, as a man who is trying every day to get to that place to where I'm able to sanctify you, I'm able to lift you up to God and say, this is your daughter who, I loved and took care of, that you left me responsible for it. It's an extremely, and I'm not making an excuse, because I am about excuses. I assume accountability. What you're asking me ultimately to do is to die a little extra than you.
I don't think so.
Okay. Let's diatribe. I
Yeah.
believe that is asking, because you're asking me to have my project management self, but allow you to color outside the lines, and then you're also asking me not to share that I think that is not the way we should go. But you're like, hey, let me be over here. That is a lot. You're asking me to do a lot to allow you to be over there freely. And you're asking me to do the work to keep the line, to keep the guard, because the guardrails got to be put up. So you're asking me to put the guardrails up and then also allow a space for you to go outside. And then you're asking me to check myself, then not to say anything that is either inappropriate or saying it's not productive to where we're going. So you're asking me to do more extra to allow you to be you. And I'm saying, where is the collaboration in the partnership aspect of that? Like, that goes back to my question. Is there a time where you don't go outside the lines and you be like, yo, we're going to just follow this? I'm going to have this plan here in my head over here, but I'm not going to go into this other area and play. When does that, and that's what I'm saying. Is it a year thing? Is it circumstance by circumstance? What does submission look like, honestly and earnestly, to where it's like, yo, I'm just going to go. I'm going to go. He said, this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to do this exactly how he does it, because I know, you know what I'm saying? When does that project happen? So that would just be what I'm saying in context to what you said.
Did you? So I don't know if you noticed, but I chuckled a little bit because what came to my memory is how when God was looking for Adam and Eve, and he was like, "Where are you, Adam? Where are you?"
He had to ask him, yeah.
And Adam was like, it was her. You the one who gave me her. And it's like our kids. Okay. I'm gonna use Izzy because Izzy do this a lot.
Right.
It's like when I say, "Hey, you did this," but so and so. Yeah. But how come But they.
I got you.
When in reality, I want to be like so bad, Izzy. If you just focus on your part, we'll deal with the rest. James and I will deal with this. Focus on this part here, on what I told you to do. Focus on that part.
Are you saying that's what God's telling men?
I think that he was telling Adam in the garden when he said, "You gave me this woman, like
right.
She did it." I think.
So you're saying that we have to suck
hold on, and specifically to this scenario.
Right.
I think that my creative design at the moment, it looks like a lack of submission. So to say to someone who is a creative, who naturally, like, this isn't something I'm choosing to do. Even when I don't want to talk, I talk.
No,
even when
we're not talking about talking.
Or not even talking, because we're talking about relationship stuff, right? Like, just in general.
Can we stay on my question? For women, I'm asking. Is there ever a time where you don't have to and you go along to get along? It doesn't.
Yeah.
It seems like you're defending to go along to get along. And so my question,
No,
you say
that's
yes, and I'm
not
saying
it
no.
at all.
Okay, that's what I'm just saying. It
Yes,
seems like you're defending.
and
If we're all saying our roles,
and
because you're telling me that I gotta suck it up and just take it because that's the role I have as a man. I can understand that. I can even take that. But my question also was, when do you guys even take it into consideration what it takes to die to oneself as a man? Because I think it's
absolutely.
different. I think it's different
And I think that we
as a husband, not
appreciate
as a man. As a husband, I'm sorry.
we appreciate the effort. We appreciate the progress. We appreciate the, I'm trying, right? We appreciate the moments when we see you making effort to do it.
Okay,
We
we're
appreciate
not
that.
talking about effort. We're not talking about that. You can't appreciate effort. There's no way you can appreciate effort. I don't. You can't do that. What I'm
What do
saying
you
is the
mean? We do
because
that
for a
all
man,
the time.
no, for a man that's not that. But again, it goes back to being specific to the role of husband. The appreciation is in I'm going to follow you. That's what the appreciation is. It's not in the effort. We talking about I've gotten. We talking
Oh,
about
okay. So can I
I've
ask a
gotten.
question?
I've gotten.
And this goes back.
Go ahead.
This
Go
goes
ahead.
back to this goes back to the core, right? Was the
Core.
plan executed? At any point did I not say
No,
was
the plan wasn't
was
executed.
the plan was not executed?
It wasn't.
Okay. I need you to go back, rewind this tape. I want you to go back to hear what you said at the beginning.
The plan wasn't executed
The plan was not
because
executed.
no, the plan wasn't executed because we got what we wanted and we still had to go do something extra when we got what we wanted. If the plan was the plan, we wouldn't have never went to the last dealership. We would have stayed at Mazda if the plan was executed because that was the plan.
The
The
plan
plan
was
wasn't.
executed.
No, it wasn't because you still don't have a new car. You're not driving a new car right now, so the plan wasn't
Because
executed.
it's based off of what their feedback is.
What feedback? We had the feedback we wanted. The plan. We're not gonna tell people what the plan was. The plan is to get my wife a new car. We have what we said at the very beginning was we wanted certain terms. We found a dealership that gave us a certain terms. It's on the counter downstairs. Somebody wanted to go do something extra and we had the plan. That's what I'm saying. But that's not even where I'm trying to get to. What I'm trying to get to is if I and now we can bring general, we can come out of us. In general, as a wife, because we gotta wrap. As a wife, if I have a success rate of 80% success rate of my plans working, I'm not even saying 100, 80%. At what point in time do you be like, yo, my husband has an 80%, 80%, 8 out of 10 times we tried to do something, we got it done, he did it, that's my hero, that's my man. There are 2 times where it didn't happen, it's okay, but he's 80%. At what point in time does he come to you with project number 11 and says, we're going to do it this way, and you be like, okay, I'm not going to question, I'm not going to, you have an 80% success rate. I'm gonna follow everything you say.
Question, I'm not gonna ask nothing.
No,
We
we're not
just
saying
going.
question. I
Okay.
didn't say
That's
question. No,
legit what you want.
no.
That is
Question
what
is
you
just
want.
no. That's the point you missing. I don't want you to not question. What I'm saying is the
You just said that.
execution. No, I said no, question whether it's gonna work or go outside the lines. What I say by question, I mean you're my blind spot. You are my blind spot, baby. There are things that I don't see that you can't see. I'm fully acknowledging of that. But if I'm saying we're gonna go down this street right here, don't you go off and say, oh man, there's another, if we make this left, we can go down this, we can cut 10 minutes off. No, we're gonna go down this street. Can you follow me down this street? I.e., can you make a left turn? Don't make the left turn. Make the right turn, and we go down Riverside, go around the circle, go down 170. We make a right, and we make a right on the 278, and then we're right there at the dealership. As opposed to going all the way down past Palmetto Bluff, then you go on May River, then you go all the way around, and you 10 minutes after I get there. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Is sometimes don't go left, come right with me. That's all. That's what I'm saying. If I have an 80%, two times, baby, you was right. I should have asked for these numbers and I didn't. You said it, but 8 times I had it. That's all. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not even telling you not to question. My question still stands. We talking about, and I understand women in survival. Two questions: is when does a woman not be in survival mode as a wife? And the second
Hold
question
on.
is:
Hold on. Yes.
is that my son? Tell him come over here.
Huh?
Come here.
Aw, come down here real quick.
What'd he say?
He was just checking on me to make sure I was okay because it was pretty quiet.
Well, she yelling at me. She telling me
Am
I
I
gotta
though?
die. I gotta die twice. I gotta die. I gotta die. I gotta die to myself, and then I gotta die to anything that you want to do. And I gotta create the. I gotta build the playground. Let you go. I gotta put the crowns on the table and everything, and then I gotta go up here and try to save the day and let you go off to this. That's fine though. That's fine. But I understand what you're saying, baby. I understand. You're right. The Adam. I thought the Adam analogy was pretty poignant. Will you come down? Where you at?
No, he stayed upstairs. He just called downstairs and he was like, it was pretty quiet. I was just checking on you. And
Okay.
we went back to his game.
Okay. No, I thought what you said was poignant. I thought that was a sharp rebuttal. I thought it was very, very keen. Uh, Adam did say that, and God is saying, honestly, I can have all these protests. I can try to shoot bell to men all I want, but at the end of the day, if I'm speaking for just me, it is, you just have to do it. You have to do it because it's our role, and according to Scripture, it's our responsibility. Because as Christ loved the church, that's the very first thing that it says in Ephesians 5:25. And if I'm loving you as He loved the church, then there is there is unlimited grace. There is not only a daily but a second by second dying of myself, and also it is my responsibility and role to create environments and spaces where you can flourish. At the end of the day, like, real talk, um, you win. You win this one. I think you know.
It's
I,
not. It's not about winning.
if we, the internet, baby. It's for the internet. The internet, you won.
No, even for the internet, I want them to know, guys, it's not about winning. If one
I,
person wins and the other person loses, guess what?
the
Y'all both
husband,
lost.
the husband loses all the time, and the wife wins every single time.
No, that's
That's what
not
the internet
necessarily
says. The
true.
internet says do that.
And I think too, I think it's important
It's important.
to to there's so many narratives right
It is.
now
It is.
about gender roles,
That's
about
what we hear. We talk about.
husband and wives. There's
Yeah.
so many narratives, and unfortunately, the narratives are not creating a space of unison. They're creating a space of division. They're
Okay.
creating a space of saying, "Oh, if women are like this and men are like this," and there's never a place where they are to
You go into
be
so
in
many
harmony.
different topics. You
But
can't
that's
do
not
that.
true.
But the Bible does say that though. The Bible gives a line. There's a line that the Bible gives. How do you do that when the Bible gives that line?
The
The Bible
line
doesn't
of
tell you to love
unison,
me as you.
or
No, I'm saying the Bible doesn't tell you as a wife to love me as Christ loved the church. The Bible tells me to do that.
right,
The Bible doesn't tell you. The Bible tells me to love you. The Bible doesn't tell you to love me. The Bible tells you to respect and honor me.
right,
So there's a line. There is a, like, if we're going biblical, there is a line. So that, because there is order, correct? Am I right or wrong? There is a
hmm
spiritual familiar chain of command: God, man, wife, children, right? If we're in agreement, you and I are in agreement that that is the kingdom order in which He set. Um, it's not about winners and losers. I get what you're saying, but it's also about each one fulfilling their role and responsibility to the standard that God has.
I agree. And I think that it's very possible
Hmm.
for wives to just fulfill their role. Meaning, if that is what you want, am I capable of giving you exactly what you want? Absolutely. There would be no coloring. There would be no creativity. Absolutely, I can give you that. I think that that's the two-sided coin that I was talking about. and we can choose which one we go with, right?
I
Because if
think
we
it's
go
all
with,
I think it's all of the above. That's what I'm saying. But to honor and to, but for me to love you, I don't think it's that. If I'm going according, and I'm strictly just going according to scripture. Wives, submit to your own husbands as the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and in himself its Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit in everything to their husbands. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and give himself up for her, and he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself, for no one even hated his own. Okay. What I'm saying by when I say all that is, I don't think you lose creativity if I'm telling you that I'm dying to myself daily. That should automatically click in from a spiritual standpoint. If we're reading the scripture, it should automatically click in for you to do your role without having any type of creativity. That's the bonus. Creativity is not who you are. Creativity is something that you do.
I think I am a creative being. I think that is that, and I think that is where because there are areas of doing, and then there are areas of being.
But
and I think,
creativity
and
is
that's what I
not
was saying.
needed for every situation, Ultimates. I don't need you to be creative to honor me. I need the simple basics of how do you honor and respect your husband. You're not creative in that. You don't do creative things for that. You honor, and you do that by submitting to your husband. That's what the Bible says. He didn't say nothing about being creative. It doesn't say be creative. He says, wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. How are you submitted to the Lord? You don't be creative for the Lord. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think creativity is not it's something you do. It's not who you are. You are a creative being, but it goes back to my question. And I'm gonna go back to my original question. Every time a situation comes up, you have to be creative. That doesn't mean you don't have the creative ability. If I'm given a vision and a word from God to say, Lot is a perfect example. Why did his wife look back? She got instruction from the Lord to look forward and not look back. She looked back and she turned into salt. Lot had to move on. She did not do what the Lord said do, and Lot did. He didn't turn into salt. She turned into salt. So if we're going to get creative, and that's not what God, so if God says, James, I want you to, and I'm not saying that he did in this, I want you to do this process this way. This is how it's done. This is the way you do it. Don't do anything else. And you over here saying, Mom, I'm being creative. I would much rather you be obedient than be creative.
No, I can understand that. I respect that.
But the only way we can do that if we're both in alignment with what God has said. And this was, and I'm not putting this to our current situation because God He didn't give us. I didn't get no outline. This is the plan. I thought it was the best route that we should take, given what we were trying to do. And I was like, I don't ever want to take away from who you are as a person, who you are as a being. My question still stands. At what point in time, is there any point in time in a wife's life where they just get along to go along? Because you trust in who is over the situation. Because people work for companies and the CEO is taking the company in a direction. They don't go to the CEO and be like, hey, I think we should do it. Nah, if the company say this is the strategic planning that we're going to do and this is the strategy that we're going to use for the next 6 months, nobody goes to the CEO and say, hey, I don't think this is a good strategy. They go along with the strategy.
That's a great point. And there's also people, let's stay with that analogy.
Sure.
They align themselves with that strategy. They clock in and they clock out. So at the end of that day, don't call me.
Baby, why are you so
extreme? I gave you what you asked for.
We're not even talking about them.
But literally in that analogy, right? Right. That is what happens. And
I'm only speaking to the people who fight the word submission. I'm only speaking to those men and women who fight that word. That's the only thing I'm not fighting. The person who does that, you can do status quo. I don't think that's excellent. I don't think that's. But you don't have to take
it meets the expectations of the person.
It doesn't. It meets the it
It
doesn't meet
does.
the no, it meets the
It meets the
expectation of the person.
if it's getting done
No,
in the
baby.
way that you have requested, it
Who's the
meets the
standard?
expectation.
Whose standard are you going by? Because I could just read the Bible and go to church and say I believe in Jesus, but I don't give, I don't have a heart, I don't serve. Whose standard are
True.
you living by?
True.
That would be my question. What's the standard? Who's your standard bearer? Because if it is just to clock in and clock out, that ain't the standard of God. Because He says, "Work as if you're working unto Me." So if you're just clocking
That
in
is
and
true.
clocking out, you think you're doing that to the CEO and the company, but you're not. You're doing that to God because He's the provider of that job. Just as long you could do that, and God can be like, "Okay, they're neither hot nor cold," even though that's not what that scripture was, but they're lukewarm. They're in the
Right.
middle. God can
Right.
keep you there and you have no impact. I would much rather have, I want to have impact. So for me as a husband, I'm telling you, I want to be so impactful that when tragedy or anything happens, my family looks to me I am the standard bearer of how we should respond. If you don't respond that way, I'm telling you, for James Cornelius Williams, that doesn't bring me honor. That you don't I don't feel appreciated because you're not responding how I would want you to respond based upon the example that I'm setting in tight situations, in situations of like if you've ever seen me operate in a panic, or you have, that's the way I'm supposed to be. I can allow you to be who you gonna be, and that's what happened. That we've had this situation happen. I am that 100% of the time. Yeah, and this was good. All right, we got it. We had an hour. This is the longest. And I'm gonna be honest. I get more clicks and views with you in my videos. So I looked at the data. I looked at the analytics. We get more likes, views. I get more engagement when you in videos. So this one might be good. All right. What do we you know what I realize with these videos, they're not ended. They're open. They're not open close. So I want you to, what was your takeaway, and what would you want people to pull from this particular video? What what is the talking point? What do we want to engage with this week with this as we go into the holiday?
Um, from my perspective, what I have just been sitting with is
Mm,
the revelation that God gave me,
mm,
which was in marriage, you are to die to yourself daily.
okay,
There was no gender associated,
got you.
by the way.
Um,
So I think that that's what sticks with me, and I think that,
got you.
I would encourage whoever that resonates with, that it stick with them too.
To die daily. Now you got people talking about what does that even mean. So be prepared to dig a little further if somebody says that. I totally agree with what my beautiful wife said. I have already apologized to her in this particular message. Um, and I will say that it wasn't our best hour as a couple the last 48 hours, but I will say this about this woman that I love. I will fight for her. I will argue against her. But at the end of the day, there is a unconditional amount of I will do this again tomorrow better than I did today in my life now more than any time. So I'm answering the question that I ask you, and as opposed to being a husband. As a husband, the one thing that I took away from what my wife told me earlier, and I sent her a message about unconditional. I cannot put limits on anything that comes in our marriage. It's boundless. Like, from the standpoint of how I treat her, what I say to her, the accountability that I gotta take. So, as she said, die daily. I truly believe as men, we not even have to die daily. You got to die moment by moment, like literally. If it's hour by hour, like you have to take each conversation, each interaction, as a moment to opportunity to take yourself, remove it, and now insert yourself selfless to be successful, to have moments of discourse and it not bleed over to dislike, hatred, uh, condemning. You have to. This is super important. So with that said, I love my amazing wife, who I've been away from for 48 hours. I'll be home Sunday late. We thank you for rocking with us. We enjoy doing these. I think we hope that they're helpful. We hope that God blesses these. These are seeds that we're planting to maybe when we get to 5, 10, 20 years down the line, we pull up these videos and be like, man, that James was ignorant as I don't know what to what it was to loving that squirrely woman onto me. And he finally got it. You just don't you never see a tame squirrel. Have you? Have you ever seen a squirrel in a cage? No, you don't. So
And before you close out, um, yeah, I do want to let you know I love you, I respect you, and I honor you. And we're calling it my creativity or my creative moment. But in those times, it is not an intent to go against the plan. It's never the intent to go against the plan.
okay.
So I'm not. I'm not. It is not my mission to find reasons not to follow your plan. That is not my
Okay.
mission.
I got you.
That is,
So if it does happen, what am I supposed to?
I think it's more of asking the questions. Like ask like what's the reason behind this? Do you even like this? Why are you doing this? Like what are you getting out of this?
All
Like
right, you heard this, folks. All right, I'm gonna try my
so
best to
so
do.
instead of being like this ain't a part of the plan, ask
I'm gonna
like
try it. I'm gonna
get
try it.
curious about why I'm doing it.
Right,
Like
but if but whole point is, why are you doing it? That's the bottom line. If it's
I
not,
have reason.
all right, I got you. I understood. I appreciate you. Thank you for
And
giving
I
me
love
good
you.
feedback. Thank you for giving me feedback that I can actually implement and take to our next situation that will come up. Because as soon as I get home, we got to make another decision about another big purchase. So let's buckle up for the next 48 hours for us. But we got some things going. We'll be sharing later. We love you guys. We honor you guys. And maybe your time wasn't honored. Nobody's gonna watch an hour of this, but maybe we'll see what Riverside clips up for us. We thank you guys. We'll see you later, baby. Stay on.